Tuesday, Yud Elul Tavshinayin Vav. We are on Teres Menachem Sefer Mamorim Tavshin Yud Gimel in the Maimer of Yud Shvat, Basi Lgani, and we are on page Pei, Ois Gimel, chapter 3. Morning. So the Rebbe here is discussing the Ruach Shtus, the spirit of folly, which enters the person as a result of which it is possible for a person to transgress. Because without that, the Rebbe said, to quote the Zohar, Nefesh kisechta tvoho. It's very surprising. It would not be possible for it wouldn't be possible to commit a transgression. It's only because of the Ruach Shtus, this spirit of folly. Because that spirit causes him to believe that despite his transgression, big or small, he's still connected to Hashem. He's still, his Yiddishkeit is still intact. The Rebbe explained that a person who sins is worse, is lower, even than Balei Chayim Atmeim, the impure animals, because they don't change their task. Sorry?
Nature.
They don't change their nature. They behave as they were created. Unlike a person who sins. The Rebbe also went on and said that the Umas Ha'olam and the Klippus, those nations of the world that refer to Hashem as a Lakod Elakaya, the God of gods, are also not transgressing. Despite the fact that they say that there is, with that statement they say that there is another power that has, another force that has some independent ability, but that's not, they don't negate Hashem's existence. They call Hashem Elakod Elakaya, the God of gods. Whereas a Yid that sins is actually what? Even lower than that. So the Rebbe now in chapter 3 is addressing this point, that when we say that a person who sins, a Yid who transgresses, becomes separated from Hashem even more than Klip and Sitra Achra, because they do not transgress Hashem's will by referring to Hashem as a Lakod Elakaya. So the Rebbe discusses this idea of Shituf, this idea of partnership, whether or not that constitutes Avodah Zarah or not, whether that constitutes idolatry or not. I just want to point out that we learned about this, and we discussed it quite at length in previous Shiurim. I believe the first one was in Pashas Kisisa, in the Rebbe's Maimer Pashas Kisisa, Tavshin Yud Aleph. And if you want to listen up on it again, I think it's Shiur 8, 9, 10, something like that, around there. But let's try to delve in at least a little more into this insofar as it relates to in the context of what the Rebbe is trying to explain here. So chapter 3, V'hinei l'cha'ura, now it would seem that in a movement it's not understood, mashakos of that which we wrote, that which we said earlier. Shaha'odam ha'ever aveira, page Pei, chapter 3. Is Gimel. Shaha'odam ha'ever aveira, hu nifrud yesem ra'klipeh v'sitra achra. That a person who commits a transgression is separated from Hashem even more than the shell and the other side of Kedusha. Why? Mishum shehem einam evrim al rotzen hamelech, because they do not transgress the king's will. V'koru le'elakod elakaya, they refer to Hashem as the God of gods. That's the statement that the Rebbe made earlier. It would seem this statement is questionable. Why? The harima, the koru le'elakod elakaya, because to refer to Hashem as the God of gods, meaning to say, this would constitute idolatry, meaning to say that not only are you referring to God, to Hashem as God, but also to some other force. So yes, you're recognizing Hashem as God, but you're still giving authority, you're attributing authority, independent authority, if you will, to another being, another existence. So that would seem to constitute Avodah Zarah, idolatry. Why? Shehem neis nim shlita, because they give rulership, they attribute rulership lahakechavim u'mazolis, to the stars and the planets, or to the celestial hosts. As we know, there are the Shivim Sorim, 70 hosts who are responsible for, or responsible, Hashem has given them certain tasks. Obviously, the tasks that Hashem has given them is that they have no choice. That's why, even though they're hosts, and even though there is, like, for example, even like through the nutritional value that is added to crops through the sun and through the moon and so on and so forth, even though it comes via the sun and the moon, it's not attributed to the sun and the moon in the sense that they can decide how much and if they should fulfill that function. Hashem has embedded within them that characteristic, and therefore, despite the fact that they are the ones that actually transmit it, it's not actually them, it's Hashem working through them. So to speak, worshipping them will not add or diminish what they can do. Right? Whereas
they have a level of independence?
No independence whatsoever. Like an axe in the hand of the Shiur, in the hand of the chopper. The core of that, let's read another few lines and we'll see how the Rebbe refers to. There's a whole long footnote here with all the sources, but I'll try to distill it to the point that's relevant to what the Rebbe is explaining here. So what do they believe? They attribute authority to other beings, like the stars and the planets or the celestial hosts. And with this, they do transgress Hashem's will. Why? Because that constitutes idolatry. If one attributes an independent authority, that's the key word, meaning to say that these other beings have some form of power or control, and it's independent, they can make a decision, as it were, right? Even though Hashem is the ultimate God, right? That's idolatry. That's Avodah Zarah. If that's the case, why is the person who transgresses Geruah worse than them? What's the point that I've made earlier? Because of the fact that they do not transgress Hashem's will by referring to Hashem as God, the God of gods. Therefore, a person who commits a transgression, who goes Hashem's will, is worse than them, is lower than them. Who goes against Hashem's will is lower than them. Says the Rebbe, it would seem that if one refers to Hashem as the God of gods, in the sense that the other gods, the other authorities have some independence and have some choice in the matter, that constitutes idolatry. So that sort of blows apart the point that Rebbe is making. That a person who transgresses is lower than them, because they seem to be transgressing as well. Says the Rebbe, this is the point. This term, the God of gods, is the idea of shituf, of partnership. And only Yidden have been given the prohibition against partnership, but not the sons of Noah. As the Ramah, Rav Moshe Isserlish, writes in his comments on the Shulchan Aruch, and in a number of other places, it's mentioned. So too it seems from what the Rambam says, B'Sefer HaMitzvahs. It's also, so too it seems from what the Rambam writes in his book where he enumerates all the mitzvahs and their sources. Shekosav, the Rambam writes, the Azhara ala Yichud, that where do we have the commandment to believe in Hashem's unity, in Hashem's oneness? He brings that source in the Torah from the pasuk U'me'akosav Shema Yisrael Havaya Echad. Right? Listen, Israel. Hear, Israel. Hashem is your God. Hashem is one. So the Rambam quotes that as the source for what? For believing in one Hashem. Says the Rebbe, the Mizem Mashma. From this it seems that the sons of Noah are not instructed to believe in only one Hashem, meaning to say, to the exception of Shituf. Yichud denotes one God. One ultimate, only one authority that has power over everything. Independent power. Everything else might have some role, but not independence. It's only because Hashem decides that the sun, the moon, the stars, the hosts should fulfill certain functions, but not independence. It's like I mentioned before, like the axe in the hand of the chopper. Because in the verse it says specifically, Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel. Going back to the Ramah, this Ramah is, as he says in the footnote, in Siman Kuf Nun Vav 156 in the Shulchan Aruch, which is, I believe, in Hilchas Beis HaKnesses, or Hilchas Masa Maton, and he says over here like this. He talks about the order of a person's day, that first he should daven, etc., etc., and then he says, and then a person should go and occupy himself with his asokim, with his endeavors, right? And he discusses over here whether a person should make partnership with what the Shulchan Aruch over here refers to as the kusim. Let's use it as a catch-all phrase.
What's that?
It's Shulchan Aruch.
Kutayts.
Shulchan Aruch, huh? Kutayts, right? So he says that they shouldn't. The Shulchan Aruch says you shouldn't. Why? Because the Kutayts might, because in the context of your business dealings, one might have to take an oath. And when a Kuthite, will swear, he will swear in the name of his God. The Ramah says that others are more lenient, that as long as Hashem is in the equation, it would not be problematic for a Ben Noach. For a Yid to believe in Shituf is Avodah Zarah.
For me, it's very similar to, say, what Muslims do. They concentrate on aspect of Gevura of the Eibishter. And that's, for them, it's part of the Eibishter, but it's that aspect of it. So, in a way, it's not an idol of...
Islam is not Avodah Zarah at all. At all.
But there's a huge concentration on a certain aspect of the Eibishter. That's how I see it.
Okay, but you're still talking about Eibishter.
Yes.
The point really is very simple. For a Yid, if one believes in Hashem, that Hashem is the maker and the creator of the heavens and the earth, and that Hashem has the ultimate authority, but there's another authority that Hashem is even given by Hashem. Hashem is given another existence, independent ability, right? Independent ability. Is that Avodah Zarah? Is that idolatry? For a Ben Noach, no. For a Yid, yes. Very simple. That's the bottom line. This, by the way, this is not according to all opinions. Okay? But it seems to be that most opinion, and at least this is certainly one that the Rebbe quotes over here, and the Rebbe says it's brought in other places of Chassidus. And if you want to have the discussion, if you want to see the whole discussion in Ois Zion, in footnote 7 from the Rebbe, he brings many of the sources relating to this. But the point the Rebbe makes is, I made a statement before, says the Rebbe, right? That those who believe, non-Jews who believe Elokad Elokaya, the God of gods, do not transgress Hashem's will. Therefore, a Yid that commits a transgression is lower than them. It would seem that referring to Hashem and partnering with somebody in the context of Elokad Elokaya, in the sense of Elokad Elokaya, is Avodah Zarah. So it blows away the point that I made before, says the Rebbe. It destroys that point.
Is Avodah Zarah.
No. The source that I brought was in the context of swearing. Should I do business with someone who swears in the name of a foreign god? That was the discussion. So for over there, the Ramah says, clearly that's the source where he says that Shituf, partnering, even though they're attaching another god, so to speak, to Hashem, for them, it's not Avodah Zarah. Shituf is not Avodah Zarah. Right? For a Yid, it is. So the question is, should I do business, or am I allowed to or not allowed to? So the Ramah says you are allowed to. But going back to the point that Rebbe makes over here, the Rebbe's point is that someone, a Yid who sins, who transgresses, is worse or lower than a Ben Noach who believes in what? In Shituf, in Elokad Elokaya, the Rebbe says Shituf is Avodah Zarah, partnership is Avodah Zarah. Says the Rebbe, partnership is Avodah Zarah, only for whom? For a Yid. But not for a Ben Noach. So a Ben Noach who believes in Elokad Elokaya is not transgressing Hashem's will. Whereas a Yid who does an Aveda doesn't have to be Avodah Zarah. Any transgression. And as the Rebbe said, even a diktu kal shel divrei sofrim. In the sense that he's going against Hashem's will, he's lower than somebody than someone who's not instructed to believe in Shituf, even though you would think it's such a, it's far harsher to believe in Shituf than just to transgress. A diktu kal shel divrei sofrim, says the Rebbe, depends for whom. For a Ben Noach to believe in Shituf is not going against Hashem's will. Whereas for a Yid to transgress a diktu kal shel divrei sofrim is going against Hashem's will. So in that sense, he's lower. That's the point that Rebbe makes. Now, why indeed is a Yid, what does it mean? It's either idolatry or it's not idolatry. Why for a Ben Noach is believing in Shituf not idolatry, and for a Yid it is? If it's not acceptable, then why for one is it and for the other isn't it? So over here the Rebbe is going to go on to explain the difference between Malach Almin and Sefer Almin. Again, this is on the basis, it's similar to the point that Rebbe makes in Pashas Kisisa that we learned, that there are different levels of godliness in the world, as we know, Malach Almin and Sefer Almin, and on that basis, the Rebbe will explain why, in the context of one level, Shituf is problematic, and in the context of another level, it is not. But the Mitzvah continue.
6 minutes.
Okay, so let's go on. Okay, fine. But Inyan who, to explain this idea, why indeed for a Ben Noach Shituf is not a problem, and for a Yid Shituf is a problem. The Ba'achai is Elikisha Ba'elam is concerning the life force of worlds, the godly life force of the worlds. Yesh Beis Efane Chayis. There are two modes. There are two types of life force. Mimali Kol Almin, V'Sevev Kol Almin. The life force, the godly life force that fills all worlds, and the godly life force that transcends all worlds. The first being one that clothes itself into worlds and into creation, all of creation, in accordance to its specific characteristics internally, whereas Sefer Kol Almin is a life force, a godly life force that transcends all worlds and is equal in all of creation. Shachai is the Memalach Kol Almin who Babis Lapshus Veilamis. The life force of Memalach Kol Almin, the life force that fills all worlds. How does it come into worlds and into creation? It comes in a manner of Islapshus, it clothes itself. Ukimai Merazal, as our sages say in Medrash, in the Medrash, Ma haneshama memala esaguf, just like the soul of the person fills the body, Kacha Kodesh Baruch Hu memala sa'olam, so too Hashem fills the world. Meaning to say, V'hainu. What's the comparison with the soul? It's just merely this is life force. This is life force. No, the Medrash is actually explaining the way in which Hashem, the godly life force of Hashem, relates and fuses with the world and animates it. The Rebbe explains V'hainu. The kshem shachayis agol lu yamis baguf harehu babis chalkus lefi ofen ha'evarim. Just like the revealed part of the life force, of the human life force, because we know that there's aspects of the person's, the subconscious, as it were, or that which is beyond that which clothes itself in the body. But just like the revealed part of the life force that of the person that clothes itself in the body comes in a manner of fragmentation according to the particular limbs of the person, meaning to say that there's a particular energy that is in the brain, there's a particular energy that's in the eyes, there's a particular energy that's in the hands, which is tailored to the functions of each and every limb. You cannot compare the life force of the soul that is in one limb and to the life force of the soul that's in another limb. The mitzad, that because as a result of the difference that there is in the limbs, there's also a difference in the life force in that particular limb. And therefore, and being that the life force changes, is different according to the different limbs, from this it's understood that the body is meaningful relative to this level of life force, to the interior life force of the person, of the soul. Why? It's because of that the life force is different, changes according to the way in which according to the type of limb, excuse me, in which it clothes itself. Right? So what's the point? And being that the body or the particular limb takes up room, in other words, is meaningful relative from the perspective of the life force. So therefore, although the particular limb feels the life energy that's clothed in it, top of page Pei Aleph, and is nullified and is submissive to what? To the life force. Who controls the limb? The life force that clothes itself in the limb. Right? So, in other words, the limb is bottle, is submissive to what? To the life force. Mikol makam eini bottle b'mitzias. That's the point. It is not totally nullified. Why? As he just explained. Because the life force itself recognizes the meaningfulness of that particular limb. That's why one particular life force will clothe itself in one limb, in one organ, and another life force tailored to another organ, another limb, will clothe itself in the other organ, and not the other way around. That's chayis hamislabish beguf. That's what the Medrash says. Just like the soul fills the body, so too Hashem fills the world. So too, which aspect of God, the godly life force are we talking about? The Malach Alman, the one that clothes itself in the world, just like the soul clothes itself in these particular limbs. Which level of godliness is that? Mimalach Alman. So too it'll be understood in relation to the God, the energy known as Mimalach Alman, the one that fills worlds. Shubi slapshus b'ha'elim, as it comes down in a mode of clothing itself in worlds. Meaning to say, in each particular aspect of the world, according to its character. So what does it mean? That there's a particular life force that clothes itself in one creation, in one created thing, and there's a particular life force that clothes itself in another created thing, according to its character. Each one's individual character. So shebitul anivroim l'chayis ze ein bitul b'mesias. So therefore, although the created beings are submissive to what? To the life force. But just like that particular limb of the body is submissive to the particular chayas energy that is that clothes itself in it, but it's not bittul b'metzias, it's not total bittul, because it is meaningful to the life force, because the life force is tailored according to it, right? So therefore, the nivroim, the created beings, relative to this level of getlachai, to mamalak alaman, it's not bittul b'metzias, it's not total nullification. That is insofar as the level of godliness known as Mimalach Alaman, the one that fills the worlds interiorly. Mashenk in Eresev Kalaman, this is not the case concerning the life energy that transcends worlds, right? Ukmeik in Achayis Shein Begoldi Baguf, similar to the life energy of the body, which is not revealed in the body. The subconscious, the one that, the parts of the neshama that are b'chinas makif in the transcendent way relative to the body. So just like the body itself is meaningless relative to it, in the sense that what? That it does not fuse with the body in a particular manner according to the particular limbs, so too in the life energy of Sefer Kalamin, Shelagabe, relative to Sefer Kalamin, relative to the godly energy that transcends worlds, Ein Hanivroim Tevsim Makim Klal. Creation and created beings take up no room at all, they're completely meaningless. And it's because of this, this life energy is concealed. It comes in a concealed manner. Although one can comprehend that there is also, through his bonus, you come to the conclusion through contemplation that there is also a life energy known as Sefer Kalam that transcends worlds. It doesn't come in a conscious feeling way. So notionally you can relate that there is something like that. But consciously, what do we relate to? To the Mimalach Kalam. Just like when we talk about the process of creation of something from nothing, ex nihilo, the ayin, the source of the created being, is referred to as ayin, as nothing. Hu behelim, it's concealed from what? From the created being. Although the yesh, the created being, knows and comprehends that there is an ayin, there is that nothing that he relates to as nothing. It's not really nothing, but relative to his existence. He relates to it as nothing because it's so distant. So he's aware that it's there. Doesn't feel it in a conscious way. Why the piece of the helm? Because it's concealed. And based on this difference between Mala and Seiviv, the Rebbe will explain the difference between a Yid and a Ben Noach in relation to Shittuf, whether it's Avodah Zarah or not. More about that, Be'ezus Hashem, on Thursday.